I stood in the bridal suite of the Astoria Grand Hotel, staring at my reflection in the gilded full-length mirror. The room smelled faintly of roses and hairspray, but I wasn't wearing the ivory Vera Wang dress that had cost my father over $120,000. That pristine gown, hand-sewn, pearl-buttoned, and ridiculously overhyped, hung untouched behind me, still in its custom garment bag. Instead, I wore a sleek black cocktail dress that hugged my frame like second skin. My hair was swept back in soft waves, my makeup flawless, my lips painted a dangerous, defiant red. It wasn't the look of a bride. It was the look of a woman preparing for war. Outside the suite, I could hear the quiet chaos of a high-society wedding unraveling on schedule. Wedding coordinators whispering frantically into headsets. Musicians tuning their instruments. The gentle murmur of guests beginning to fill the cathedral across the plaza. Every detail, every movement, right down to the imported orchids in the vestibule, was unfolding with mechanical perfection. Just not the version anyone expected. My phone buzzed on the marble countertop. A message from Talia, my maid of honor. She's here. Front row, left side. Red dress. Just like you predicted. I didn't even need to check the screen. Of course she was here. Of course she wore red. That was Sienna Blake's signature move, bold, theatrical, and slightly pathetic. Exactly the kind of drama Ethan once claimed to loathe. "You're nothing like her," he used to say, stroking my hand over dinner. "You're refined. Stable. Mature." Sienna was always chasing attention. You command it." I used to believe him. 3 months ago, I still did. Back then, I was deep in wedding preparations, riding the emotional roller coaster of guest lists, table layouts, and floral arrangements. Ethan and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 1, and everything seemed perfect. At least, on the surface. He was a partner-track financial lawyer at one of Manhattan's most powerful law firms. I was a senior curator at the Modern Art Institute, with a promising upcoming exhibition and a reputation for elegance and taste. Everyone said we were the perfect match. No drama. No games. Just 2 intelligent people building a life together. But lies, I've learned, wear expensive suits and offer ring boxes on bended knees. My gaze drifted to the invitation propped against the vanity mirror. Cream cardstock with gold foil lettering, the official design we'd send out to our 400 guests. Except this one was different. This one wasn't from the printing company we'd hired. It was handwritten. I'd found it tucked inside Ethan's locked desk drawer 3 months ago. The envelope was addressed in his handwriting, but not to me. It was for Sienna. "I know I have no right to ask," it read. "But please be there. Front row, left side. Some things deserve to end with truth. Some things." He had the nerve to send her a private invitation to our wedding. Not an olive branch. Not an apology. But a front row seat to the ceremony where he'd pretend to pledge his life to me. It was the moment everything shattered, and, paradoxically, when the real plan began. A soft knock at the door pulled me back to the present. I already knew who it was. "Come in," I called calmly. Naomi stepped inside, dressed in her bridesmaid gown. Her expression was sharp with excitement, tempered by the weight of what we were about to do. "Everything's in place," she said in a whisper, as if the walls could hear us. "Are you absolutely sure?" I turned back to the mirror, eyes locking with my own reflection. My red lips curled into a measured smile. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Naomi didn't reply, but I saw the glint of satisfaction in her eyes. We both knew what was at stake, what this day would become in the memory of everyone who witnessed it. Not a celebration. A reckoning. I picked up my clutch purse, unzipped it, and ran a finger across its contents. 1 USB drive, containing 3 years' worth of evidence, digital correspondences, bank records, call logs. 1 printed copy of Ethan's love letter to Sienna. 1 single red rose, cut that morning. A mirror image of the one Ethan would be wearing on his lapel. Everything had been curated. just like a gallery exhibit. Except this time, the art wasn't meant to provoke thought. It was meant to destroy. Naomi checked her phone again. Chloe's in position. Final touches are done. You won't believe how real she looks from behind. Even the wedding coordinator didn't blink when she checked in. I nodded, suppressing the small rush of adrenaline surging through my chest. Chloe Lane. A rising actress from my cousin's theater troupe. Same height. Same posture. Similar profile. Different fate. She had rehearsed her walk down the aisle for weeks. Every angle, every movement. She wasn't pretending to be me. She was becoming the version of me Ethan deserved to marry. My phone buzzed again, this time, from my father. Sweetheart, the photographer's asking for the traditional father-daughter photo. I typed back without hesitation. Tell them I'm fixing a last-minute issue with the dress. He wouldn't argue. My father was one of the few who knew the truth. The night I discovered Ethan's betrayal, I had gone to his apartment, not to cry, but to build a case. He found me surrounded by papers, screenshots, and timestamps, organizing betrayal into a timeline. He didn't try to comfort me. He simply poured me a glass of scotch and said, "Then we burn it down." Smart. Precise. Unforgettable. And we did. 3 months earlier, I still believed in fairy tales. Or at least, in the carefully curated version of one, a Manhattan apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows, silk robes draped over chaise lounges, and the warm hum of a man I trusted tapping away at legal briefs in our shared home office. That evening, the rain tapped lightly against the glass as I worked in the kitchen, finalizing the seating chart for the wedding. I'd been chasing the perfect balance, keeping the Weinsteins away from the Steinbergs, the interns from the partners, my childhood friends from my museum board colleagues. A logistical ballet. Ethan was out for a client dinner. He'd left early, dressed in that crisp navy suit he always wore for serious negotiations. He kissed my cheek and told me he might be late. But something had been off. Not just that night. 4 weeks. His phone tilted away when he typed. Meetings with out-of-town clients were popping up more frequently. When I asked about his schedule, his answers were rehearsed. Clean. Too clean. Still, I wouldn't have suspected a thing, until I went looking for the reservation code for our honeymoon and opened the wrong drawer in his desk. That's when I found it. An envelope, unsealed. Thick cardstock. Cream-colored with a soft floral texture. Not the professionally printed invitations we'd chosen together. This one was handwritten, addressed in Ethan's unmistakable block letter handwriting. To Sienna Blake. My breath caught in my throat. I read the letter once. Then again. Each word felt like a slap. Despite everything, I need you there. Front row, left side. Please. You'll know when the time is right. My hands trembled, but not from heartbreak. From rage. Sienna. His ex-fiancée. The woman he once described as chaos in heels. They had broken up years before we met, supposedly because she'd cheated, lied, and nearly tanked his career by pulling him into her drama. He told me I was the opposite of her. That I brought him peace. But that letter wasn't written by a man at peace. I placed it back in the drawer and sat down at his desk. My heart wasn't pounding. My palms weren't sweating. I didn't cry. Instead, I opened his laptop. He hadn't changed the password since we moved in together. Still MoMA 2018, after the year I curated the New Modernity exhibit that earned me national press. I used to think it was sweet. Now it felt like mockery. I started digging. Emails. Deleted text threads synced from his phone. Travel confirmations to cities where client meetings coincided with Sienna's Instagram check-ins. Photos of the same skyline, same restaurants, just never together in the frame. Clever. Almost careful. But not enough. Then came the real jackpot, a private folder labeled Archived Clients that contained dozens of PDFs, meeting notes, wire transfers, internal memos that reeked of conflict of interest. Some bore Sienna's initials. Others had names I recognized from the firm's public cases. I copied everything to a hard drive and backed it up to the cloud. Twice. Then I shut the laptop, made myself a cup of black coffee, and waited for Ethan to come home. He arrived after midnight, slightly flushed, reeking of expensive whiskey and arrogance. He loosened his tie, kissed my cheek again, and poured himself a drink. "You're up late," he said, nodding toward the glowing screen of my tablet. "Just wedding stuff," I replied, smiling. And I meant it. I was planning the wedding. Just, not the one he thought. The next morning, I sent a text to the only person who'd know exactly what to do. "Talia. I need you. Bring wine. And gloves." She arrived 20 minutes later, stilettos clicking across the marble floor, trench coat flaring like she was walking into a crime scene, which, in a way, she was. I didn't waste time. I showed her the letter. The emails. The screenshots. Her expression didn't change until she saw the photo of Sienna in Paris, same weekend Ethan had claimed to be at a legal summit in D.C. "Jesus," she muttered. "He's not just cheating. He's planning something." I nodded. He invited her to the wedding. Her eyes snapped to mine. "Wait. She's coming?" "Front row. Left side." I said it with ice in my voice. "I want her to see everything. I want her to think she's won." Talia blinked. "And then?" "And then," I said calmly, "I want her to watch him lose everything." We spent the next 2 weeks drafting what Talia jokingly called Operation Black Veil. It wasn't just about calling off the wedding. That would have been too easy. Too clean. No, Ethan had choreographed a betrayal in front of hundreds of people. I intended to return the performance. The key was Chloe. My cousin, Jules, runs a non-profit theater company downtown. I called her under the pretense of commissioning a private performance for a museum gala, then pivoted after 2 minutes of pleasantries. "I need someone," I told her. "Same height. Same build. Can wear a veil. And follow directions." She didn't even hesitate. "I have just the girl." That's how I met Chloe Lane, 28, classically trained, currently working a bartending job between callbacks. The moment I saw her from behind, I froze. From the right angle, she could have been my twin. She was eager, curious, a little skeptical, until I laid it all out. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I handed her a manila folder of Ethan's lies, explained what he was planning, and said, "I don't need you to act like me. I need you to walk exactly 15 steps and keep your veil on until I say otherwise." Chloe stared at the folder for a long time. Then she said, "When do we rehearse?" Over the next month, we built the wedding Ethan thought he was orchestrating, while quietly constructing a second wedding beneath it. Parallel timelines. One glossy and perfect. The other, lethal. Talia handled the venue logistics. Naomi embedded herself with the wedding planners, subtly redirecting key details. Rachel, my old college roommate turned forensic accountant, took a leave of absence from her firm to help me untangle Ethan's finances. Even my father got involved, calling in favors from journalists, lawyers, and contacts I didn't even know he had. No one suspected a thing. Ethan thought I was busy choosing floral centerpieces. In reality, I was intercepting emails from his secretary, Janet, who had quietly agreed to send me any correspondence flagged with Sienna's name. "She's uncomfortable with their meetings," Talia told me one night, sipping wine on my balcony. "Apparently Jessica, sorry, Sienna, keeps showing up at the office unannounced." "Good," I said. "Let her think she still matters." I wasn't trying to stop her. I wanted her there. I wanted her dressed in red, positioned perfectly in that pew, waiting for a fairy tale ending that would twist into a public collapse. And Ethan? He still kissed me goodnight. Still brought home takeout. Still acted like the man I was going to marry. Let him. Let him think he won. The beauty of betrayal is that it teaches you how to play dead, while you plan to bury the ones who buried you first. The morning of the wedding was unseasonably bright. Sunlight poured through the tall windows of the Astoria Grande, casting golden stripes across the marble floors. Outside, a string quartet played the prelude softly as guests in couture and tailored suits filed in through the grand entrance. From the outside, it looked like the event of the season. And it was. Just not for the reason they expected. I watched it all unfold from the bridal suite, sipping black coffee from a porcelain cup while Naomi typed furiously on her phone. Every few seconds, she'd glance up, give me a subtle nod, then return to texting. "The photographer is in position," she murmured. "Camera's rolling. Hidden mic is hot. Jessica, sorry, Sienna, is already fussing with her hair. Front row, left side." Just like he told her. I smiled faintly. "And Ethan?" "He just got here. Looked a little rattled." Talia said his hands were shaking. Of course they were. He probably thought it was nerves. Or maybe guilt. But guilt implies remorse. What Ethan felt was fear, though he didn't know why yet. I stood and crossed the room, smoothing my black dress as I walked toward the mirrored armoire. My reflection was razor sharp. Hair pinned in soft waves. Makeup pristine. Red lips like a slash of war paint. A woman in control. I opened the clutch resting on the counter and took quick inventory. USB drive with digital evidence, check. Printed email exchange between Ethan and Sienna, check. Handwritten invitation, check. The red rose, freshly cut that morning, twin to the one pinned on his lapel, check. My father had it couriered straight from his private greenhouse. It wasn't just symbolism. It was precision. A soft chime came from Naomi's phone. She looked up, her expression tightening. "It's Rachel. She's at the cathedral. The AV team is in position. The moment you give the signal, the feed goes live." I nodded. This wasn't a wedding anymore. It was an operation. A knock at the door. I turned. "Come in." My father entered, looking impeccable in his tailored tuxedo. His expression was equal parts pride and quiet dread. "You ready?" he asked. "Almost," I said. "Just one final check." Naomi handed me a small velvet pouch. Inside, the earrings Ethan had given me for our second anniversary, vintage diamond drops in platinum. I held them for a moment before placing them carefully into the pouch and setting it aside. No sentimental attachments today. Just strategy. I turned to my father. "Is Chloe ready?" He nodded. "She's with the coordinator. No one's questioned a thing. Veil's on. Posture's perfect." "Good," I said. "Let's give them a show." From our suite, we had a partial view of St. Helena's Cathedral across the plaza. Through the stained glass, I could see the first rows filling in, light catching off the crystal chandeliers. The air felt electric. Heavy with expectation. "They're already posting photos," Naomi murmured, scrolling. Hashtags trending. Everyone's calling it the society wedding of the year. "They're not wrong," I said. "It'll be remembered." Downstairs, the bridal car was ready. Chloe would arrive separately. Guests would assume I was inside. But Chloe would walk the aisle. Veil down. Face turned slightly away. The illusion would hold just long enough. Until it didn't. I checked my phone again. A message from Rachel, short and precise. "Michael's at the altar. Sienna's texting. Photographer just got the shot." "Perfect," I said. "Let her send her little signal. Let them feel like it's all going to plan." Naomi arched a brow. "And Ethan? He'll be watching the doors. Waiting for me." For her. Thinking he's about to get away with it all. I smiled. Let's make him sweat. The cathedral was glowing. St. Helena's stained glass windows threw shards of ruby and sapphire light across the marble aisle. Guests whispered softly, phones already out, capturing every luxurious detail, from the towering floral installations to the string quartet playing a gentle waltz. To them, it was the perfect wedding. To me, it was the perfect trap. Naomi stood beside me, watching a live stream on her tablet. The hidden camera tucked behind a pillar gave us a perfect view of the altar. Ethan stood tall in his custom Armani tux, his hair carefully styled, his expression composed, but beneath that polished veneer, I saw it. The nervous glance at his watch. The subtle way he adjusted his cufflink 3 times in a row. Classic Ethan. He was cracking. I leaned closer to the screen. Is he scanning the crowd? Naomi nodded. He's looking for her. Her, Sienna. Red dress, left side, second pew. The exact spot Ethan had told her to sit, like she was some dark secret waiting to be revealed. She looked radiant in that manipulative, curated way. Long curls. Perfect makeup. Smug little smile. She thought she was about to steal the spotlight. And in a way, she would. Just not how she imagined. She just texted him, Naomi whispered, showing me the screen. A zoomed-in shot from our secondary camera caught the message as she hit send. Almost time. Remember what we practiced? The moment I touched the rose. The rose. Of course. I had expected a signal. Something theatrical. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket, but he didn't check it. He simply looked down the aisle again, eyes trained on the grand doors. Right on cue, the processional music began. Naomi looked at me. Chloe's in position. Across the plaza, Chloe stood at the threshold of the cathedral, veil low, bouquet held tight. Her posture was perfect. We had rehearsed everything, down to the angle of her chin, the rhythm of her walk, the way she'd glance toward the crowd but never make eye contact. From 20 feet away, even my own father would have hesitated. From Ethan's vantage point? She was me. Naomi tapped her earpiece. Rachel confirms AV is green. Talia's with the signal crew. The second you give the word. I nodded. Not yet. Let them think they've won. Let them enjoy their final moment. Inside the cathedral, the doors opened. Chloe stepped forward. The congregation rose. Ethan exhaled. And smiled. I watched his face through the screen, relief flooding his features as the veil floated down the aisle toward him. His plan was working. Sienna was ready. The crowd was none the wiser. He was seconds away from executing the most humiliating betrayal of my life. Only, it wasn't me walking toward him. Sienna reached into her clutch. I could see the tip of the silver frame she planned to hand the usher, a framed photo of her and Ethan from their first engagement. She would pass it up during the vows. Make a dramatic scene. Turn the ceremony into scandal. And leave me broken, crying in public. But that was the fantasy they rehearsed. This was reality. And in reality, they were standing on a minefield. A second message popped up on Naomi's screen. Michael is in position. He's checking his phone. Hidden mic caught it, signal coming soon. J. Michael, Ethan's best man, and the weak link in this pathetic conspiracy. He was supposed to act surprised, jump in, offer comfort while Ethan apologized. A full soap opera production. I gave a sharp breath. They really thought this would work. Naomi's voice dropped. You ready? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because right then, Sienna rose from her pew, red silk catching the colored sunlight. Her hand touched the rose pinned to her bodice. The signal. Michael adjusted his tie. Ethan looked toward the officiant. Naomi's finger hovered over the screen. Now? I let a single beat pass. Then I whispered. Now. A single chime echoed through the cathedral. Then silence. The kind of silence that feels like a held breath before a scream. And then, static. A sharp crackle came from the speakers mounted high on the cathedral walls. The officiant froze mid-sentence. Chloe, still playing her part beautifully, paused at the center of the aisle. Guests shifted in their seats, confused. Then came the voice. Ethan's voice. Once she's at the altar, let Jessica do her part. She'll make a scene, Ava will break, and then we'll salvage the ceremony with the story about how it was all a misunderstanding. Trust me, by Monday, everyone will forget. Gasps. Audible, scattered, rising like waves. The officiant looked toward Ethan, clearly unsure whether this was some kind of elaborate performance. But Ethan had gone pale. Completely still. I just need Ava humiliated. After that, it won't matter. Jessica and I can go public. I'll handle the firm. She handles the optics. My voice had never been in the recording. Because I never needed to speak. His words were enough to destroy him. Naomi glanced up from the tablet, her eyes sharp with fire. Chloe's ready. I gave a single nod. Down the aisle, Chloe reached the altar. And then, just as the recording faded, she turned to Ethan, paused, and slowly reached up. Her fingers brushed the edge of the veil. And she pulled it off. Gasps rippled through the church. Phones came up like a wave, clicking, recording. And Ethan? Ethan staggered back half a step, confusion clouding his face. This wasn't the plan. That wasn't me. It wasn't supposed to go like this. A second spotlight snapped on, positioned perfectly over the side entrance. And I stepped into the light. My black dress shimmered in contrast to the white marble. My heels clicked like gunshots against the floor. My red lips curled into a calm, devastating smile. Ethan turned to see me. And that's when panic truly set in. Behind me, a massive projector screen lit up, playing synchronized footage. Split screen, Ethan and Sienna in a parking garage. Ethan and Michael whispering at the rehearsal dinner. A time-stamped shot of a plane ticket to Paris booked under Sienna's maiden name. I approached the altar slowly. The congregation had gone completely still, mesmerized. Phones up. Cameras rolling. And in that moment, I didn't feel like the betrayed fiancé. I felt like a prosecutor walking into the courtroom for the closing argument. Looking for me? I asked, voice echoing across the marble. Ethan's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at Sienna, who was now halfway out of her pew, frozen. I brought a few receipts, I said lightly. Since you seem to have trouble keeping track of the truth. I pulled the red rose from my clutch and held it up. This one matches the one on your lapel, doesn't it, Ethan? The one you insisted on choosing personally. Just like you insisted on hiring your cousin's videography team instead of the one I recommended. Cost saving, you said. Sensible. Funny how convenient that turned out. Gasps again. Whispers. But no one looked away. I took out the USB drive. Contained on this drive, I continued, are records of Ethan Cole's financial misconduct. Insider trading, collusion with known investors connected to Sienna Blake, and evidence that confidential client files were shared without consent. Sienna gasped. You can't prove. I don't need to prove it to you, I said calmly. I only need to show it to the right people. I nodded toward the back of the cathedral. A quiet stir as SEC agents entered, flashing badges discreetly. Among them, my father. Not just a guest. A former federal prosecutor. Michael tried to slip out the side aisle. He didn't make it. 2 plainclothes agents intercepted him mid-step. Cuffed. Hands behind back. Panic bloomed now. Full scale. But I wasn't done. I turned back to Ethan. You thought you could script the ending, Ethan. You really thought the crowd would cheer for you. I held up the handwritten invitation, the one he'd sent to Sienna. Some things deserve to end with truth. I nodded. I agree. Then I read aloud the letter he'd written to Sienna, word for word. You'll know when the time is right. Our story isn't over. She was always just a transition. People gasped. Some guests stood. One woman, his senior partner's wife, walked out, face burning. Still think you're the hero of this story? I asked him. Ethan didn't answer. Couldn't. Because on the screen behind him now, Rachel had just uploaded screenshots of his private texts to Sienna. Explicit, arrogant, and now, very, very public. And Chloe? She stepped aside, walked down the aisle like nothing had happened. The fake bride making room for the real one. And I stood at the altar. Not to be married, but to bury the lies where they belonged. The moment the final text appeared on screen, Ethan's words to Sienna, promising they'd reclaim what was rightfully theirs, the cathedral erupted. Not in applause, but in chaos. Some guests stood in stunned silence. Others whispered furiously, clutching their phones like lifelines. More than a few were filming, broadcasting the implosion of Ethan Cole's reputation to the world in real time. This wasn't a scandal whispered behind closed doors. It was a takedown, projected in high definition. The officiant stepped back, clearly rattled. Miss Pierce, he stammered, do you wish to proceed with the ceremony? I turned toward him, calmly. No, Reverend, I said. But I do wish to proceed with the reckoning. Behind me, Rachel walked briskly up the aisle, carrying a black leather folder. She handed it to my father, who passed it to Harrison Wolfe, Ethan's managing partner at the law firm. He flipped through the pages, bank transfers, flagged case notes, unauthorized filings. His face went stiff. Mr. Cole, he said coldly. You are hereby suspended from the firm, effective immediately. Wallace, secure his office. No one enters until our forensic team completes their sweep. A visible jolt shot through Ethan. You can't just. I can, Wolfe interrupted. And I will. He turned to me. We appreciate your cooperation, Miss Pierce. You've done this firm a service. Ethan staggered back a step, grasping for anything, logic, pride, control. This isn't proof, he snapped, desperate now. This is an ambush. It's emotional manipulation. It's fraud, Rachel finished for him. Multiple counts. SEC violations. Potential insider trading. All committed while you were preparing to marry the woman you were simultaneously betraying. A ripple of stunned noise moved through the pews. Sienna, face drained of all color, made a sudden motion, fishing through her purse. She's deleting something, Naomi hissed. I nodded toward the nearest agent. That device is now evidence. The agent moved with swift precision. Ma'am, he said to Sienna, please hand over the phone. She clutched it to her chest. Now. The room fell silent as she slowly surrendered it. Talia arrived seconds later, holding up a printout. The SEC just froze 3 of her accounts, she said. Her firm issued a statement distancing themselves from her actions. They've launched an internal investigation. Sienna looked ready to collapse. But I wasn't done yet. Would you like to explain, I asked her calmly, why you and Ethan broke up the first time? Sienna's eyes widened. You couldn't know that. Oh, but I do. I gestured toward Naomi, who tapped her tablet. New images flashed across the screen. Old social media posts. Private messages. Blurred screenshots of messages with other men, while she was still engaged to Ethan. Timestamped. Verified. Seems infidelity runs in your blood, doesn't it? I said. Sienna's perfect composure crumbled. She turned, fled down the aisle. She didn't get far. 2 more agents intercepted her at the cathedral entrance. And Michael? Already in handcuffs, being read his rights. Funny how quick loyalty collapses under threat of prosecution. The photographer, still recording everything, captured Ethan's face as he watched his world fall apart. His eyes flicked from Wolf to me to the guests. He opened his mouth once more, then closed it, because there was nothing left to say. Everything he'd built, his career, his reputation, his carefully crafted image, was crumbling under the weight of the truth. And I turned, walking slowly down the aisle, not with a groom, but with dignity. Outside the cathedral, media vans were already lining the streets. Reporters crowded the sidewalk, trying to make sense of what they'd just witnessed. The headlines were already forming. Manhattan wedding turns into financial crime scandal. Bride exposes groom in live ceremony takedown. Ethan Cole's downfall begins at the altar. Inside, I took one last look at the sanctuary. The stained glass still shimmered. The flowers still bloomed. The music still played, now in a slower, minor key. But the story had changed. This was no longer the beginning of a marriage. It was the end of a lie. The cathedral emptied slowly, like a theater after a final act no one saw coming. Guests walked out in silence. Some whispered. Some cried. Most looked stunned, as if they'd witnessed not a wedding, but a funeral. And in many ways, they had. Not the funeral of a person. The funeral of a reputation. Outside, the air had shifted. Manhattan's late afternoon light bounced off the marble steps as camera flashes lit up like fireworks. News anchors gathered on the sidewalks, voiceovers already playing in real time. Sources confirm Ethan Cole has been suspended pending a federal investigation. Insider footage reveals real-time exposure of financial misconduct. Exposé orchestrated by fiancé Ava Pierce now under review by multiple agencies. I stood just beyond the church doors, the hem of my black dress brushing the stone. Naomi joined me, holding out a sleek phone. "You have 7 interview requests. The Times. The Post. Vogue, weirdly." I took the phone, glanced at the notifications, then locked the screen. "Let them write what they want," I said. "They'll never tell it the way I did." "Still," she said, "you turned a wedding into a corporate takedown." "I mean, who does that?" I smiled faintly. "A curator," I said. "I don't destroy things. I display them." She laughed. "God, remind me never to cross you." A familiar voice approached. "Ms. Pierce." It was Barbara Anderson, Ethan's mother. She looked older than I remembered. Paler. She held something small in her hand, the diamond-studded bracelet that was supposed to be her wedding gift to me. "I want you to have this," she said softly. "Not as a daughter-in-law. As a woman who stood up when others would have crumbled." I hesitated. "I knew something wasn't right," she added. "Not about the money. But about Sienna. I saw them together." I stayed quiet. "That's my shame to carry." I nodded, accepting the bracelet. Not out of sentiment, but out of closure. Across the street, Rachel was already briefing 2 SEC officers. Talia stood beside them, flipping through a second folder labeled Secondary Accounts. More than one law firm was about to find itself under review. Naomi's phone buzzed again. "It's the board from the museum," she said. "They're not firing you. They want you to lead a new audit initiative. Institutional integrity through artistic curation. Apparently, they're impressed." "Good," I said. "I prefer my exhibits honest." The doors behind us opened once more. Michael was escorted out in cuffs, eyes lowered. Sienna followed shortly after, flanked by agents. Her red dress, once so bold, now looked cartoonish beneath the gray sky. A spectacle turned cautionary tale. Then Ethan emerged. Alone. His tuxedo rumpled. Tie undone. Expression hollow. He looked at me, eyes searching for anything, mercy, understanding, a crack in the armor. He found none. "Do you feel better now?" he asked hoarsely. I stepped forward, calm as stone. "No," I said. I feel finished. He opened his mouth again, but I was already walking away. That night, the headlines exploded. Every major outlet ran the story. My name trended globally for 72 hours. Anonymous sources leaked parts of the dossier. The financial world reeled. Investigations multiplied. But I didn't celebrate. I didn't party. I sat on my balcony, glass of scotch in hand, watching the skyline flicker. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt still. The kind of still that comes when you've survived the fire. Not by running, but by burning brighter than it ever could.